Where do you want to put, is this video you're taping?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So, I'm Richard Schaefer. I've taught here for 20 years, and I've taught 171. This fall I was on sabbatical, so Ivana Svetovic handled the class, and I'm also doing research and administrative work for this semester and the fall semester. So I'm not teaching this class anymore. But for the last 10 years, 9 or 10 years, I've also been the UNM coordinator, the faculty coordinator for this talk media news. At first, for the first 7 years, it was called Talk Radio News Service, but now it's Talk Media News for this news service that goes out primarily to 400 radio stations. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. Goes out, apparently I'm allergic to it, but it goes out to about 400 plus radio stations across the United States. Most of them have talk radio programming. Most of the talk radio programming is extreme right. A little bit of it is extreme left, and a little bit of it is in the middle. But whether they're extreme right or extreme left, they want news reports about what's happening in Washington. And they want maybe 15 to 20, maybe not that many, maybe 9 or 10 big events that are happening in Washington every day. Okay? These are today's. McConnell, Senate. So they evidently got an interview with Mitch McConnell, or he gave a news conference.
Uh-oh.
We'll come back.
Okay.
I think, yeah. And
Oh, it's on. What?
oh, thanks. So this one would be one that maybe talk radio here in New Mexico might be interested in, because we've got so many issues. PNM, of course, invested in coal, not imagining that how effective wind and solar would be here, and that it would ultimately be cheaper than coal, and natural gas is much cheaper than coal. So PNM's trying to figure out ways to recoup their investment in coal, and so that could be something that might interest people who are going to do some sort of show and have that be an element in it. So anyway, so they've got all these different things. They do world news, they've got partnerships, they have bureaus in New York and Washington, and the bureau that our students have been attending, on average about 2 students a year, a semester, has been in Washington. And what I think students get out of it is they're forced to become reporters. You get the same credentials as any New York Times, Washington Post, CNN reporter. You get credentials to the White House, the Congress, the Capitol building, the Pentagon, the various agencies. We've never had people credentialed for the CIA that I'm aware of. But I think perhaps it would work. I don't know. We haven't had students head out to Langley, Virginia. So anyway, what the students do is they usually we encourage students to use Washington intern student housing. They usually reserve a couple places for us right near the Capitol. So most of the time when they're covering the Capitol, they can walk to the Capitol building, usually within 300 or 400 yards. And the Talk Radio News Service office itself is behind Union Station, a couple blocks away from there, and which is about 3 blocks or 4 blocks from the Capitol. Also, Talk Media News Service has a small radio booth in the Capitol building itself, and it's got a small space within the White House press room. It also has one of the 47 dedicated news organization seats in the White House briefing room. So it's not in the front row. The 47th seat is in about the 8th row. It's the very last seat. There's only 47 seats. But no other organization, news organization in Mexico is even close to having a seat, or Arizona. So you're there with the New York Times, Reuters, Washington Post, and about 44 other international news organizations. Now, other people can attend White House briefings. Somebody mentioned Sean Spicer. They cover those briefings. That's where the White House briefing room is. And so, if you don't have a seat, you stand in the back. Okay. But so it's a good experience. Students at first are overwhelmed because they're not used to going and covering a hearing and having to report on it. But the initial things that they have you cover are things that if you drop the ball a little bit, you can sort of get away with. The news reporting is straight, just like what we call an Associated Press report, because your target audience is who knows. It's other news people who work for radio stations around the United States. The stories are usually fairly short, usually less between 200 and 400 or 500 words. But occasionally there's room to do longer pieces, and I ask students to do one multi-source piece. You can receive between 3 and 15 credits for your semester in Washington. You can use your lottery scholarship, so it shouldn't slow you down. And coming out of 171, you can substitute for C&J 269, multimedia and visual communication, because you'll be shooting photos, recording audio clips, right? They have the audio clips up here. Oh, it's another page that's got, oh, there it is. Video, and then there's audio clips. Maybe there they are, up there. So they've got their audio sound bites that you pick out when you go do an interview or you cover a hearing. You pick out a couple of the good sound bites and you make them available. And usually you'll write some contextualizing. They might want you to write that in broadcast copy style, but most of your writing is going to be print journalism style, using AP style book, okay? Or AP style in your computer. So, why do I want students to do this? I want students to do this because if I was a student, I'd want to do it. I would have, especially if I grew up in New York, but I still felt like I was far from where the big action was, okay? I would have loved to have gone and been able to report about things in Washington, D.C. I would have been intimidated by that because I wasn't a political junkie. But we will turn you into political junkies. You don't have to be one. This program will turn you into one. Or it will kill you, one or the other. And we haven't had anybody die yet. Okay? So just by being in the swim of it, it's like learning a language, you're going to learn. But the routine is, our students often get up 6:30 in the morning. Welcome to the real world, if you're not there already. Yeah, and this is East Coast. It would be worse if you were covering East Coast from here, then you get up at 4:30. But you get up at 6:30 in the morning, you see what Politico's got. You look at you get an email or two from Talk Media News. They tell you what your assignment is. You do as much research as you can online about that assignment. And then you get fortunately, one thing very civilized about the East Coast, things start at 9 a.m. They don't start at 8 a.m. But you got to get your hiney out there by 9 a.m. and often you'll have the Marantz recorded from the night before, get any equipment you need, and get over to Congress or get to the Pentagon or wherever you got to go to cover your stuff. So it's in, and then you come back that afternoon, try and turn it around in an hour or two, work with somebody on your writing, maybe get your audio pieces up, maybe you've shot a couple photos, this is why it substitutes, and then you talk a little bit and you get ready to start the next day. Yes?
Would TMN cover equipment, like mic booms or cameras?
They have cameras. They have video cameras, cheap ones, good ones, but and they've got still cameras, but they've got good audio equipment. I don't think that their still cameras are absolute great, but you know what? These days when I shoot with a cheap point and shoot, like a $300 point and shoot, and that's probably what they give you. And if you know how to work, it's mainly about framing. It's mainly about not putting the person's head in the middle of the frame. But, so it's mainly about framing, but you could even get by with your iPhone these days. Okay? But that's not good enough for audio. They want broadcast quality audio when you go out and get your sound bites. Now sometimes you're using a shotgun mic, a cheap shotgun mic, like only $1,000 shotgun mic. So you're using a shotgun mic, you're not going to get great audio with that unless you get right up next to the person. That's broadcast quality. But so if it's somebody like Nunez coming out of in the hallway, you'll see that everybody's using shotgun mics. You don't get great audio with that, but because he's newsworthy today, because he's chairperson of the House Intelligence Committee, and he's supposed to be investigating the Trump administration. That's newsworthy. You grab him anywhere you can in the hallway. Don't necessarily get a chance to go in his office, do a nice, quiet, sit-down interview with him mic'd carefully. But you also learn to do the other thing. I would tell students who go there to pop in every once in a while on our senators and representatives from New Mexico. They'll know who you are when you're done, and that's a good thing to sort of have that. And if there's stories that have a local bench, send them back to the Daily Lobo or do something. But so I think what students learn is that they eventually you're going to have to swim in some sort of big time. You know how the world is today. No matter what you do, you can't be mediocre at it. You got to be pretty good. It's really competitive that way. And I think this is a good program for making people good. You don't have to be exceptional to do the program. But I think once you're through the program, you have an exceptional perspective. You've got a lot of skills and you've got some connections. That's what I hope. Students tell me that that's really what's happening to them. So we have students who now have worked for NPR. We have a student, one of the testimonials, the blonde-haired woman is a student who's just taken a job as the Latin American media coordinator for the World Bank. We have students who work in advertising and public relations firms in DC. So, and a lot of the students have gone on to work for non-governmental organizations around the world. I don't know why, but that's the case. Questions? Yeah.
Is there like a specific year in school you're looking for? Like if
Not really. I think you should do it whenever you can, if you want to do it. And I would say do it. I'm retiring next year. It may go away with me. I'm retiring January 1st. So there's a lot of talk of it going away, perhaps. But I'm hoping that it continues. Ellen Ratner, who I know we're pretty friendly, we've been doing it together for a long time. The Ratners are a powerful real estate family out of Cleveland. Bruce Ratner, who died last spring, was the attorney who filed the lawsuit that opened up Guantanamo. The Ratners are pretty left-leaning, but her other brother, Ellen's other brother, also built the Brooklyn Yard, the place where the Nets play, which is the biggest, next to the World Trade Center, is the biggest development in New York in the last 15 years. So she's from a power family. Yeah.
Is there any financial assistance from UNM?
There is financial assistance on, usually we can help defray some, living in DC, Wish Housing runs about anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a month. So for a multi-unit, $800 if you're in with 4 people, that's internet and furnished apartment. So that's the big expense. You pay tuition here if you're not on a lottery scholarship or something like that. The lottery scholarship would cover it. But we also sometimes have financial help, but not a great deal. Usually in the order of anywhere from $500 to $2,000, something like that, to defray the costs. Yes?
How many weeks is the program?
Fall and spring are the same as the semester without the finals week, okay? But students tend to hang around and finish up their work for school often during finals week. Now, it can